Hello, I am Dr. Eric LaMalfa from Utah State University, and today I'm going to talk to you about adoption of digital learning tools in field-based natural resources courses. Um, so, like many of you, I've been thrust into this online and digital teaching environment, and I think it's really important. We're coming up on almost a year since we've been doing this to kind of look back and think about which of these methods, these tools, and teaching approaches has been working, and how might we improve on them. So in my case, my university has invested in Zoom. We've been using Canvas for a long time, and Kaltura is a video capture system that allows you to capture lectures and imagery in high definition. So I've been using those, and I've also been working with my university video production team to develop instructional materials and rolling them out in different formats. So I mean, a nice way to frame what's been happening is we have asynchronous materials. Those are things that are pre-recorded, and they're available to the students outside of class. And then there are synchronous materials, and those are live stream. So oftentimes using Zoom or other kinds of video chat. So what I'm going to do today, my method is that basically I'm reporting what the students have told me works for them. So I teach these three field-based natural resource courses. They're all spend a lot of time outside with their hands getting dirty or looking at plants up close and personal. So all of these have had to adapt, and there's been less face-to-face instruction. And I'll talk about each one of these and show you the methods that I employed that students told me in their anonymous course evaluations that they really that worked well for them. So these are the things I'm going to talk about: pre-recorded video, Zoom, and specifically the tools available in Zoom, and then face-to-face interactions and how those were augmented with pre-recorded materials, and just in general instructor technology. So the first class I'm going to talk about is Range Plant ID team. And this class, there were 6 students this year, and I allowed those students to take the plants home. So each student had all 200 plants. I would broadcast a lecture, and that's what you're seeing on the screen now, is basically a PowerPoint with me. That's the recorded lecture that I was talking about each of the plants and talking about different traits on those plants. We also used a document camera to look at plants up close. And for these, I used a Kaltura video capture system because it has better video quality than Zoom. It also has some cool features. It records 2 streams of video, and then students, while they're watching it, they have the option to move those videos around. They can make one of them bigger than the other, or they can move the other one around. Now, this is really handy for plant ID because I might be zooming into a part of the plant that a student isn't interested in. They still are looking at something that's maybe on a larger scale at the roots or something. So the students really appreciated those. So in another course that I taught was Wildland Field Techniques, and this class was super challenging. There were 60 students. Typically, we go on long 2-hour to 4-hour field trips where we do everything from forest stand exams to range studies and wildlife surveys. So in order to adapt, I split when we did have face-to-face interactions. I pre-recorded materials with the university video production staff, basically showing close-ups of how to do everything. So the students would all watch those videos ahead of time, and they would take a quiz. So that's what you're seeing here is one of these video quizzes. So they would watch this video and they would answer some questions. Sorry, I'm not able to get out of there. Okay, so they would watch the video. I would explain what we were going to do in lab. They would check out material, sanitize it all, and they worked in really small groups. Those small groups would go around to stations where there were TAs. So it was quite a logistical production to do this wildland techniques class. So when I did do lectures, they were always broadcast on Zoom, and I would always stop and do polls throughout the lecture. So a couple times per lecture, I would ask them, you know, something about the material I was just presenting, or I would ask them, in one instance, you know, type something that you would try to build, try to use a model, a natural resource model to predict something you care about. They would type those things into the chat, and I think that really engaged the students. The last thing I'll talk about is these Zoom broadcast labs. And so for these Zoom broadcast labs, I taught them a little bit about R. So you're seeing another one of those Kaltura videos here. Now R is tough. Even when you are face-to-face, different students go at different paces. So I pre-recorded a tutorial with me basically going through step-by-step how to do a couple of different tasks in R. And then I showed them how to do it step-by-step. Now, what made this work was that they were required to do it during our normal class time. And I opened up a Zoom room. I opened up breakout rooms so that students could work in groups, which they did remotely. And then I was also available in the main Zoom room, and they would come back in and ask questions. And students really responded well to this. Some students still preferred to work on their own, but a lot of students took advantage of that. I think a lot of students work on their own no matter what. So the last thing I'll talk about is my natural resource career orientation. This class is extra tricky because it's mostly freshmen and transfer students, and we use this class to really give them an opportunity to network, to get to know their peers. They have assignments where they need to talk with a professor and an advisor, and they need to do a club activity. So it's very interactive, and we do these field trips together where they electroshock fish or they do radio telemetry. So without those, this class was entirely online, so no human interaction. However, I found that Zoom and using strategies that I learned about in this book, Hitting Pause, there's a bunch of other pedagogical books that talk about taking breaks every 10 to 15 minutes. And the students, so I would do kind of corny demonstrations. I would ask them to make a hypothesis about what's going to happen if I drop some rocks into some water, something really simple, but I gave them something to talk about. And I asked them to reflect and think about why they were interested in natural resources. They wrote essays on that, and they would read those essays to small groups in the breakout rooms. And in that way, it kind of broke the ice. And eventually, by the end of the class, I did a survey at the beginning and the end of the class. Students had actually made friends in our college by doing these online breakout room interactions. So anyway, those are kind of my take-home messages. Again, I'm kind of conveying from my students to you. This is via these anonymous surveys. This was consistent feedback that I received, and I kind of summarized it here. But if you're going to do asynchronous material, make it high quality and make it relevant to the exercise that they're going to do. Tailor it specifically to your class. Use those Zoom tools. And I really got good feedback about, just in general, if whatever tools you have available, get to know them so that your class runs smoothly. And students really picked up on that and appreciated it. That's all I have. I would love to talk more about teaching, and I'll be in the SRM breakout rooms. So thanks for listening.